I can. Yeah, all redeems are off until after this this part of stream. For sure, and 74,000 years ago or something. Whatever our founding father said over here. Understandably, I know, right? I'm officially a sellout. Using one platform for another platform's gain. Or whatever. Yo, sometimes drawing clothing lines is literally just LOL, this looks like a good spot to put a wrinkle. Quite literally. Grub? Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're eating grub. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. My Astra. Minecraft sound effects because I have to keep hearing them from my playing Minecraft with my offspring. Ramen snickerdoodles. Whoa, hey. Wrong color. Hey, whoa. Oh, genuinely? I think I cooked on that. Oh. Thanks for the lurking, then. Yippee! About that time when you lose your mind. My gosh. This stuff being so lazy. This part. Watch out. I wish my glove worked for me, but it's being jerk. Appreciate the lurk, Taiga. Have good stuffs. Oopsies. Oopsies. Just about that time. people. Which we got here. Holy fuck, it's got favor. Oh, and lunatics. I suppose now is as good a time as any to get this party started. Hi, how we doing? Welcome in. Happy fucking Tuesday. We got there. For some reason I was gonna say happy Friday, but I knew that wasn't right, so I had to think about it for a second. You know, happy Tuesday. It's it's a new week already, and we're already part of the way through it. It's Monday. Oh shit, you're right, it's Monday, my bad. I thought we did Monday already, because I was thinking about doing Sonic Racing on Tuesday. That's right. Damn. I even took a second to think about it, and I still fucking swung and missed. That's crazy. Well, happy start of the week, everybody. Hopefully your Mondays are well. Today on the schedule, I want to talk a little bit about Digimon Story Time Stranger, and then once we're done with that, we're gonna play some Sonic. Hopefully talking about Digimon won't take too long. But I do have some thoughts. I have some things that I wanna yap about. So I guess I won't waste too much time. So today, like I said, we're gonna talking's hard. So like I said, today we're talking about Digimon, and more specifically Digimon Story Time Stranger. And I wanted to just kind of give my thoughts and I guess first impressions. I don't even know if you can call it first impressions anymore. I mean, I've put almost 62 hours into this video game. But I do plan on doing more subsequent runs and playthroughs. So I guess first impressions, but you know, whatever. It's fine. So first and foremost, before we get too far into this, to those of you that are here live, I will go through your messages and discuss what I see there after I'm done. But I just want to get everything out and in the open, because if I don't, I know I'm going to get distracted and I'm going to lose the plot and things are going to get misconstrued. And I'm not trying to do that, because I'm going to use this yapathon for a YouTube video. And for those of you that are watching it, this is the one. There's also going to be massive spoilers. Probably, maybe. There's definitely going to be some spoilers. So if you haven't beaten the game, or you know, you don't want spoilers, now would be a really good time to click off, mute, whatever you got to do. But yeah, we're gonna be discussing some story stuff for the Digimon story game. So definitely spoilers. And with that crap out of the way, let's talk about it. First and foremost, without wasting anybody's time, this is an absolute must play for Digimon fans. I don't even think there's a world in which I can recommend starting in any other place in good faith for Digimon fans. If you're a new Digimon fan, if you're a returning Digimon fan, a longtime Digimon fan, hardcore Digimon fan, it does not matter. This is like the penultimate game to play. If you haven't played it, you need to play it. Absolutely, hands down, without a question. That's the main takeaway that I would like to have from this video, but I think there's going to be other takeaways as well for some people. So yeah, if you're just a JRPG fan, I still highly recommend this game to you. I think that if you enjoy JRPGs as a whole, especially if you enjoy like Persona, Metaphor, etc., the gameplay loop is a bit different than probably what you're used to, but there's a lot of aspects I think that you'll like. And coming from being a Square fan my entire life and really enjoying Final Fantasy, what I've played of Chrono Trigger, Kingdom Hearts, etc., this game is big for me. So there's that. Definitely, I will say this though, if you're like a hardcore monster tamer / catcher fan, I would almost say treat this as a standard JRPG where you have party members that can rotate versus a monster catcher. It's going to sound really weird, but believe me, it'll change your expectations of what you're getting into, and I think it'll make a lot more sense once you actually play the game. But yeah, so like I said, I love my time with this game, and I will be doing multiple runs of it. And I think the easiest place to start for me realistically on my thoughts on the game is the story and the writing. Mostly because this is a story game and it is an RPG, so I think that it's really important to tackle one of the most important aspects first. Absolutely, though, this game kills the opening section. the first like set of opening hours, it's like 8-12 hours or so, absolutely hooks you. I mean, from hour 1, you're locked the fuck in. The scenes of the giant mechanism that you're not really sure what it is stomping around a city, and you trying to catch up to it and meet up with some mysterious Digimon and this girl who pops up named Inori. The whole thing just really draws you in and gets you interested, asking questions and wanting to play more. I think that they did an exceptional job with the start of this game. I don't think they really dropped anything there as far as like story beat wise goes. Overall, the entire concept of what eventually devolves into like a human versus Digimon with like Iliad versus Titans thing going on, that shit was tight. Having multiple factions kind of vying for power or having their own motivations to deal with another party is always super interesting in any story. So the fact that they were able to kind of juggle that and have some full circle moments with that was awesome. And I will say there's the whole like, and spoilers, Chronomon, the supposed guardian at the start of the story that we're, trying to rescue basically, who turns out to be the bad guy, them actually pulling the strings behind the scenes. So it's like another party that's involved with, their units and tricking everybody into fighting each other. And the whole thing was it was nice from like an overlook standpoint. I think that entire story beat of what they were going for was nice. But what you're going to be spending the most amount of time doing is getting to know various characters throughout the game. So for example, in the human world, you're going to get to know Inori, who's one of the main characters, and her friend, her friend who's a streamer and winds up streaming about Digimon, her father, Dr. Simmons, and Austin, a few other characters. And there's some fun human characters. Speaking of the human characters, there's a few of them that kind of have like running gags that kind of stick with this is my one beat and I kind of take it, but they do well with it, like for example, your operator, the person that's constantly talking to you across time, because there's time shenanigans in this, he's constantly reminding you, or she, depending on which lead you picked, how you're adopted by Dr. Yuki, your adoptive father, Dr. Yuki. And it's like, dude will not stop. And at first it's like, all right, bro, shut up. But after a while, it gets to a point where it's like Stockholm syndrome, where you hear it so much, it actually kind of becomes funny. It kind of becomes super memeable. And I went from being like, oh, okay, LOL, we're adopted, to damn, this guy's annoying, shut the fuck up, to, oh, we're adopted, let's go. It was like a full 180 a couple times in how I felt about it. And then by the end, I was like, just say it one more time. So there's stuff like that that's like I don't want to say like a running gag, because I don't think it was intentional. I think there was some writing stuff in this that probably wasn't intentional, and that was one of the things, but that definitely sticks out to me. There's a theme throughout the entire thing where people will point out how you dress weird. They'll be like, damn, your drip is whack, your shoes are whack, your hairstyle whack, the whole thing. And it's like, dog, leave me alone, I'm going through it right now, and you got to jump me for my fit. That's kind of fucked up, but that was appreciated. That was funny. Now, granted, I was wearing some of the cosmetics in the game throughout, so that kind of added to the humor a little bit. But getting back to the characters, I would say you spend a good majority of the time learning about these Digimon in the Olympus 12, and there's 12 of them. There's a lot of them, and you spend a good amount of time with some of them, and then others you're kind of like, yeah, I remember Joe. He brought punch to the function. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as deep of a relationship with those. For example, Venusmon and Neptunemon, they're both involved with this ocean level. And during this, there's like a big attack on the ocean, and they're trying to get to the current. And they're gonna take over, and then the Titans, who are the supposed bad guy Digimon, are attacking the Iliad Digimon, who are the supposed good guy Digimon. And they're taking over this water area with the beach and the ocean and everything. And they take it over. But during all this, you have a Shellmon, who's like this pink shelled Digimon, or pink Digimon with a shell, who is an Iliad Digimon, but they wind up healing back to full health a Divermon, who's like a Titan, an enemy Digimon. So you have like this, opposing sides kind of working together. She's hiding him and nursing him back to health, and you find out, and there's all this stuff happening, and it's kind of cool because it shows that, you know, there's good people on both sides and maybe some questionable decision makers on both sides, kind of like in real life with most things. And that was nice. So you have this whole arc of them working together, and then smash cut to the future after you've already completed that level, you've done all that stuff. Eventually, the story is like, all right, you've seen all these cool biomes, you've done all these cool things, you've met all these cool Digimon. Now go back through them all again. go back through them all again. And this is where the time shenanigans really starts to kick off. At some point, they're like, hey, we need you to go back to all the places you've been. And what we want you to do is we want you to rescue these Olympus 12 Digimon from their fates, whether it's death or, you know, losing their minds or whatever, right? Like, that's a pivotal point in time. You got to figure this shit out. And you have to figure out 12 different instances, and some of them happen multiple at once, like the Neptunemon and the Venusmon. When you complete that arc, you get both of the MacGuffins for that, and it gets added to the board. They're little shiny gems and a statue to let you know that you did it, which is really cool. But basically, you go on these chase quests, and you go back to the exact same maps you've been to before with little to no variance. So when I say little to no variance, in the water level, the water turns red. I mean, you do get to go and you get to see that Neptunemon, who was the Divermon that the Shellmon nursed back to health, is, you know, now a leader of these Titans, and he's been trying to reach out to the Shellmon, right, and continue to make amicable, basically, relations with the Iliad Digimon. So that this Titan, who is now a leader, is like, hey, I wanna make things work between all of us. And through shenanigans, it doesn't work, and then you have to use your time powers to save him. And the Shellmon is a Venusmon at this point, and it's a lot. But basically, the concept is, hey, you've now gone forward in time 8 years or whatever, and the Digimon have changed. The situations have changed. Everything is completely changed once you get to this back half of the game. And I think what's really funny about that is that, like I said, they don't really give you a whole lot of new stuff to see. So while it's cool to see familiar faces and how they've changed, the areas haven't really changed at all. Not much, really. There's a industrialized area where when you first go there, it's like a factory and you have to move stuff around. But then when you come back later, the factory area has basically just been turned into an arena. But there's nothing to like explore or see. You just kind of go across a bridge, you talk to some dudes in a room, and then you go into the arena, right? So like not much has changed. So story-wise, I feel like personally, it's like, hey, 8 years have passed. You know, these Titans are now occupying a lot of this Iliad space. You would think more has changed. And in some places, you know, there's a little bit of change where it's like, you know, the place might be a bit more of a mess, or there's different Digimon roaming around, that kind of thing. But there's not really a whole lot of change as you go into the future, at least in the digital world. Not as much as I would have liked to have seen. But again, you get to see all of these Digimon that you've made a relation with finally like either digivolve or have their arcs kind of come to a nice completion, which feels really good. Like there's a big payoff there. And some of them don't hit as hard as others because you didn't get to spend as much time with them. But I think by and large, I think Bandai did a really good job making damn near all of the Olympus 12 stories feel special. So that's just, to me, like, I think they did well there. However, I'll say that they did an excellent job via their story making us enjoy the companionship of various Digimon, and not just the main story ones. A big example of this is Blimpmon. Blimpmon is what it sounds like. It's a fucking blimp that's a Digimon. It's that easy. Blimpmon, before the time skip, right? Blimpmon was just a Blimpmon, just chilling, would talk to you when you go to ride, and we'd talk about various locales we're going to. It wasn't like a main Digimon that did anything crazy. He was just basically a glorified teleport, okay? Like, dude was a teleport that could talk to you. That's all it was. But super endearing, and there was some like plot stuff that happened aboard him later on, 8 years in the future, when he became a master Blimpmon, and that shit was tight. And I don't know, like now I like Blipmon. I think Blipmon's a cool fucking Digimon. Before, I didn't feel strongly one way or another. I was just like, LOL, it's a blimp that's a Digimon. You know, like that's kind of the extent of that experience. But they made me like Blipmon, even like Locomon. I'm like, yeah, trains, baby, choo choo. Like it's so nice now. Because another glorified teleporter was Locomon. I can't even fucking talk. So it's just like there was a lot of that I think they did really well in the general world, right? If you sat down and you actually talked to the NPCs, they would kind of react to stuff going on, and it was a living, breathing world. Which to a lot of you, you know, you're like, yeah, that's standard JRPG affair, but that's kind of where it's like this game is for the Digimon fans, because it's not super normal for Bandai to kind of go that extra mile, especially on the Digimon front. But before I forget about teleports, they actually had a Geckomon teleporting us around towards the end of the game. And the Geckomon's whole shtick was, if you say like really sweetheart type things, it makes me cringe so hard that I teleport. And so you'd be like, if you really believe in yourself, you can get through anything. And he'd be like, "What?" And then he would teleport you to the next area you had to go. But if you said the wrong thing and it wasn't cringe enough, he would teleport and be like, I didn't park my Digibeetle here, which made me fucking pop off, because the Digibeetle is a direct reference to Digimon World 2. And I'm a known Digimon World 2 enjoyer. And I kind of felt like Bandai wanted to like push DW2 under the rug, but it's nice to know they haven't like forgotten about it and that they're not ashamed of it and just want to bury it forever. So that felt really, really nice. That's not the only reference they've made either. They've made a ton of references throughout the entire game, and they're all super appreciated, especially the ones I actually picked up on my own instead of being an absolute doofus. The only other thing I really want to talk about with the story, because it's not like I don't want to spoil too much. That's like kind of the main thing, right? But the only thing I want to talk about with the story is that some of the revelations you get throughout the game some of them feel really impactful and really well thought out. But then there's a few revelations, a few of the quote unquote plot twists that can kind of feel like a cop out depending on how you like your stories written. Now let me explain. So the impression the writers gave or trying to give their audience at the beginning of the game and through the bulk of it is that this is like, yes, this is a Digimon game and a JRPG, but like it has a relatively gritty and serious story. And while it has like the anime skin, it's still pretty well put together, well thought out and serious, right? Like we had this expectation and this illusion that was cast upon us that like, hey, this is what we're getting into. And I should have known better because it's Digimon, right? Like, let's be honest here. But after a few events happened and things changed, the revelation struck. I realized, oh shit, no, this is a Digimon game. This is anime as fuck. And personally, once I like got that and accepted it, I was like, okay, this is actually better for it. But at first I was kind of like, damn, they really decided to go that route, huh? You know, that kind of thing. Because it felt very, you know how Kingdom Hearts, it's kind of like random bullshit go sometimes. It's not, but it feels like the writers are trying to, you know, like maybe they're in their late teens and they're trying to be edgy sometimes, or, you know, fake deep, like they're trying to be deeper than they really are type thing. It kind of came across that way at first. But once I really thought about it and I was like, nah, this is a fucking Digimon game. They just didn't, they gave us a slightly different expectation in the beginning. It worked out. Like, like I said, I love the anime and campy nature of just like, you know, anime JRPGs in general, but especially Digimon. So for me, that actually elevated things. But I know for some people, that's probably there's going to be some stuff they're going to look at that and go, there's some things, you know, especially towards like the back 20% of the game, for sure. I will say this though, as somebody who's an author and who writes a good amount, this may not be something people have picked up on, but the writers definitely made some comments via dialogue and characters in the game that led me to believe they were aware of how silly some of their plot points were. or convoluted that they were trying to make it, and maybe they weren't feeling super confident about that, so they snuck in some dialogue to kind of go, oh, don't worry about it, just move on, you know. And it's a technique that writers will actually legitimately use, right? A character will ask a question, and then character B will respond, oh, don't think too much about it, oh, it's just how it is now, we just got to take care of this, and they like create a sense of urgency to make you think about something else and go elsewhere. And that's very, very common in Eastern media. A lot of the times they'll just be like, nope, fuck this, we're not explaining it, just get on with it, you know, like accept it for what it is or fuck off type thing. And that's what happened. It happened 2 different times. So it's fine that they didn't want to fully explain or address certain things, but that's definitely, there's some people that'll catch on to that and it might bug them, you know, that type of thing. But I think when you're getting to this type of game, you kind of already expect that and know that that's going to come. I will say though, holy shit, there was this part in the game, and I just want to gush about it for a second because it made me laugh for, I think it was like 2 minutes straight. I could not breathe. So you're playing through the game, going back to what I was saying earlier, where they're telling you, oh, you're adopted, you're Dr. Yuki, your adoptive father, all these things. And everybody keeps commenting on how you dress funny and you look like a character straight out of an anime. This is a major spoiler, by the way. And then towards the end, Dr. Simmons, this scientific type, is like, yeah, gang, I got into science because of this Dr. Yuki from an anime. And you're like, oh, that's my adoptive father. Like, oh, yeah, no, that's an anime character. They're not real. And your character is just like having an existential crisis during this. And the whole thing is just Dr. Simmons basically being completely fucking tone deaf, that they just shattered your entire reality, that you're actually not adopted. You don't have an adopted father. Instead, you don't even really fucking exist. And that shit was so fucking dumb. Like in the best possible way. It was so funny. She's just sitting there like, man, I wonder what Dr. Yuki would do if he were real. It was fuck me, dude. Actually, like that was probably the peak, the pinnacle of like, let's just tie some stuff together and really push it in your face. That shit was so funny. I don't know, maybe I'm just a sicko and that made me laugh, but absolutely hilarious. And I think in general there was a lot of dialogue that was just really enjoyable. You know, there was parts that made me laugh, there was parts that made me tear up and choke up. There were parts that made me feel like, fuck you, we got to get this asshole right now. Like I felt all the emotions during this playthrough, and I think that many people would feel very similarly. And I will say this, by the end of the game and the credits rolling, I was like, we got some tears in our eyes. Like they did a really nice job finishing things out. But there was also a bit of relief to be done. And I think part of that came from the back half of the game, or part of the game starting to feel like a slog, because there were so many points at the end of the game where I just kept thinking Bandai was doing Bandai-isms. They were Bandaiing super hard all over the place by introducing level design mechanics to purposely pad the game, to do extra backtracking to purposely pad the game. And like, I understand that this is a common practice like across the board, because this is one of my biggest gripes with, you know, like Code Vein, Final Fantasy VII Remake, fucking pick a JRPG, and I'm pretty much always going to be like, man, what are we padding for, right? I've always been on the side of, hey, if we could just have a really strong experience, I don't care if we lose 15 hours from the game. I simply don't. If I was like, damn, this shit was peak from start to finish without the padding, that's dope. But once the padding's introduced and I'm like, that kind of like gives me a negative ick in my mouth and makes me reconsider if I want to replay a game I might have enjoyed a lot, right? So stuff like that. But yeah, towards the end, it was super padded, and it's just not appreciated. I think some good examples of this is there's a Digimon named Bacchusmon who 8 years in the past was like drinking and being merry and throwing parties with his friend Sirenmon and all this fun stuff. But 8 years in the future, right before the big climax, bro was like, hey, my Gear Forest, that's what the place was called, Gear Forest. He's like, yo, grab me some berries so I can work off this hangover, fuck ass. And you're like, oh yeah, I got you, G. But he has 2 Digimon right next to him that could have flown to get the berries, right? And then just brought him back. But instead, no, you have to walk up these long paths that are winding and then do these little vine whipping things from one tree to the next area, which is kind of slow and slows things down more. And there was 3 different fucking berries, so you have to get 3 of them. And it was a thing. And then there was a big fight that happens at the end, which is cool. But one of the flying Digimon join you anyways. So it's like, bro, if you just went to go get the berries ahead of time, we could have fucking left before the fight happened. This shit makes no fucking sense. And that was just one instance of this. There was like multiple. There was the teleporting section where I was like, LOL, the dialogue was funny with Geckomon over in Plutomon's castle. It was enjoyable because of the teleporting for a bit, but at the same time, because you don't know which one's going to be more cringe to Geckomon, I thought some of them were more cringe and they weren't. If you choose the wrong one, it teleports you back to the fucking beginning of the teleport puzzle. Now, thankfully, when you do choose a correct option, it'll mark next to the dialogue with a little icon which one was correct, so that's nice. But that's like somebody in chat, Taiga Moon, was like, yeah, I just save scummed this portion on a later thing, and I wish I had done it the first time. Like, you know what, I should do that in the future, and I will when I do my new game pluses. We're save scumming that shit because it would just legitimately save you time for sure. Or what I would do is I would take it and write it in a doc and just know what I need to do ahead of time, which is probably what I'm going to do. But yeah, that last stretch was just like, it was rough. There was a lot of things that they were having us do that are just completely unnecessary. I would have rathered, instead of them doing that to pad the time, I would have rathered they cut it in half, let us do the major fights, and then give us some of that extra time that we would have had left over to like interact with our companions a bit more in that last stretch. Just really get real dialogue with them, and not just dialogue that's like, oh, we're gonna beat Chronomon, we're gonna do this together, we'll catch right up to you. Like, what? It would have been cool if we had other stuff, you know. But hey, we got what I got. That's really it though. I mean, it's nice that we had at the very end, everybody kind of came together to fight the big boss and everybody had their turn in the spotlight. That was cool. It was a little weird that one of the main players, one of the main villains that they kept showing us, that kept showing up and was like, you don't know what you're doing, da 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 da, and they were causing chaos, wound up not even being a fight or a boss at all. I understand why, because of story reasons, because they were a part of the, in quotes, plot, and they had to, you know, be absorbed or whatever. But that definitely feels like an insane miss to me. They kind of, like, Bandai was like, hey, we have this thing that can give you a bit of satisfaction if you fight it, we're gonna take that away from you. Super interesting decision there. I don't know what the play was. I don't know why we decided to go that route. There's, with the way they were doing things, there was multiple ways that could have explained a way and made it so we could actually fight that Digimon, but we didn't. So cool. Speaking of things we didn't do, I didn't finish all the side quests at the end of the game. I had been 100%ing all the side quests up until right before the final boss fight. So for those that do know, and those that don't know, right before the final boss fight, there is a fucking list of side quests that pop up, and they take several hours to complete. And at this point, I was like, I just want to finish the game before I get spoiled, and I just want to fight this boss. I want to be done. I want to be done and move on because I have other stuff I want to do. So I skipped all that shit at the very, very end. I'm going to go back off stream, probably, maybe on stream. I'm not sure yet. I got to figure that out and finish all of that. But a lot of the side quests outside of the main story quest line are really fun and really good. And they give context to not just stuff happening in that game, but also Cyber Sleuth games, right? There's a whole side quest about Kyoko and her father. Like, there's good side quests in there. They're not just fetch quests, you know, and there's some funny ones too. You get to do a side quest about getting a dude out of a fucking bathroom, which is, the whole thing was goofy and it was fun. It was a good distraction. It was a good time. I thought that added more to the characters and more to the world, just in general. The whole thing was entertaining and I really enjoyed it. I look forward to playing the other side quests. Enough about the story, though. I think overall the story was incredibly enjoyable, and while there's definitely sections that felt slow or unfinished, we'll say, or maybe rushed story-wise to kind of tie things together, I think overall they did a phenomenal job to make a good JRPG story that people should want to experience, for sure. However, the Digimon that are available and or the roster are pretty cool. I would say I have pretty much minimum complaints about Digimon availability outside of the DLC cash grab they've been throwing at us, and outside of the fact that we got a lot of like, yeah, these Digimon were expected to be in here. It would have been cool to see some older, less represented faces. And there's some personal Digimon I would have loved at the game, but I think overall there is a Digimon for everybody in here. Yeah, I think as you play through the game, you're absolutely going to find a handful of Digimon, or at least one that you really, really love and grow an attachment to. And for somebody like me, who's already a Digimon fan, I was like, oh, this is going to be my team by the end. My team fucking shocked me by the end of the game. There was only two Digimon, really just one Digimon that I was like absolutely certain I'd have on my team. And I wound up having basically 5 faces that I was like, I didn't know they were going to be on there. And I think that's really cool. They did a really good job of incentivizing me to try Digimon that maybe I wouldn't have wanted to previously or didn't really think to try. So it worked out super, super well. Part of that could be because I was naming them after like chat members and stuff and letting them pick some of their routes, but I'm not, you know, it is what it is. But no JRPG or Digimon's game is Digimon's? Hell yeah. Digimon game is complete without combat. And I want to talk about the combat system. And maybe this is something that I should just kind of like skip over entirely, but I'm not going to. Let's start with the stuff I did like. I think the battle lengths felt nice. I don't think they overstayed their welcome or were too quick across the board. Most of the time when you get to a new biome, fights lasted an appropriate amounts against mods or mobs, not mods. And I think boss fights in general were phenomenal. Actually, just super, 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 super fun. Bosses that would summon ads or have meaningful, unique mechanics, you know, maybe apply debuffs and statuses were absolutely the most engaging part of the battle system. And I would say that fortunately, this was the majority. The majority of the time, you were dealing with some unique mechanics or some unique, you know, buffs or way of fighting when you were fighting the bosses, and that was so fucking cool. It was just like, it was weird because like usually when I play these Digimon games, I don't rotate my team in battle much, right? I usually have like my main 3 in the front, and then occasionally I'll switch if I need to for like attribute advantages. But this time around, I was like, boom, boom, rotate, 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 rotate. Like we were utilizing all 6 Digimon, almost every major fight. And whether that was because I was like spamming buffs or dropping heals, rezzing members, switching up what attacks I was using because they were more effective because they were physical or magical or they were the right attribute or the right, you know, trait. Just constantly swapping between Digimon, and also honestly swapping my Digimon sets that I was using, because you have Digimon that have signature attacks that they always have, and then they have 4 slots for like tech attacks that are like an equipment that you can put on, and those can be like actual attacks, that can be debuffs, that can be buffs, that could be healing, that could be cleansing, that could be unique things. Like you can completely change the attribute of your Digimon and like flip what it's weak to and what it's strong against. You could do the same to your opponent. You could nullify physical or magical attacks completely and then counter. Like there's so many things you can do, and they give you so much freedom to build out your team how you want to build it out. And I think there's going to be people that are going to like, in quotes, optimize it and probably suck the fun out of it, which is fine. That's cool. That has its own joy to it as well. But like just being able to do like silly builds on whatever Digimon you want is super enjoyable. I will say, that said, there was a certain point in this game where I was nuking shit. I found a strat that was working so well for me. It did not change basically, I don't know, 50% of my run. It was probably 50% more of my run. I essentially had a main magical DPS dealer for the brunt of it, and one of my teammates would apply a double magical damage buff onto them. Another one of my teammates would heal my team, and during their heal, they would actually omni boost all of my Digimon stats on field. That was their ability, because these Digimon have abilities too. So what happened was I would have one Digimon on permanent buff duty, another Digimon that would apply these buffs that would last for 3 turns. So you get like a 30% or whatever increase to stats, or 10%, 20, whatever it is. You would get the double damage bonus. You would be hitting hard and then reducing a resistance to the type of the attack I was using, and then using the attack again. And then on the off turns, when my healing Digimon wasn't doing the healing and the buff and the one move, it was doing other things like damage or applying debuffs, whatever. Like, it was doing stuff. And then down the road, I took that a step further, where I had the same set in the back, basically, but on the physical side. And then I had a Digimon that was fully dedicated to nullifying either physical or magical attacks, depending on the boss, and then countering. Like, there's so many ways to build your team. And it's really cool. It's really, really, really cool. And I loved the way they did it in a PvE sense. I will say this, though, I would not want to play this game in PvP, which, if you know me, you know is fucking crazy. So there's no PvP in this game, which originally I was like, man, we're so fucked. It's over. This game could have had like a long life after the game's done, more so than just people playing it for the story or challenge runs. Like, we could have had a whole PvP scene and built a community around it. I could have ran brackets and done fun stuff there, you know, on my side and da-da-da-da. But after actually interacting with the with the combat systems, I'm kind of like, it'd be cool if we had PvP as a PvP enjoyer, and so other people could have that, and at least the options there. But with the current implementation of things, whew, I don't know. Seems like a hard pass for me, dog. there's just the way stats work, and, you know, trying to max your stats out to the cap and all these other things. I'm just like, man, this maybe isn't it. Speaking of stats, whoever the fuck was in charge of weaknesses and resistances on this team, they've got to get the boot. Get them the fuck out of here. I don't want them touching JRPGs or any battle system again, unless they learned their lesson. I don't know what the fuck they were smoking. Like, genuinely, there's some Digimon that, like, you look at them and you see the attacks they use and stuff, and it'll be like a fucking bug, right? That uses electric attacks, and it's weak to electricity, and you're like, what in the fuck is happening? Or you'll what was the other one? It was like a water type Digimon, or an ice. It was water type, and it was weak to fire. And I was like, huh? What the fuck is going on? Why are we like this? And it was a dark Digimon. Just a lot of the weaknesses and resistances are super fucking confusing. Makes no goddamn sense. And which is so weird, because they have a boss that has a mechanic where if you have a Digimon with a metal fucking body, you can redirect its lightning attacks to that Digimon, which is so fucking cool. That is so unique, which, by the way, not all metal Digimon work for that. Make it make sense. Just saying. I brought a Digimon to that fight because I was like, oh yeah, it's metal. It'll redirect. Sure fucking didn't. There was like 3 Digimon at that point. 2 or 3 Digimon at that point you could have used. Anyways. So that was weird. But yeah, I don't know. I think combat system wise, there's some things that are really cool and some things that are lacking. I don't want to dogpile the combat system, but data types in this game, because there's 3 main attributes, right? There's vaccine, which is strong against virus. There's virus, which is strong against data, and there's data, which is strong against vaccine. That's your fucking sword axe whatever combo, right? Sword axe spear or whatever it is from Fire Emblem. That's the trifecta. And unfortunately, most of the bosses, most of the enemies are fucking virus types, and they're dark trait. So virus attribute, dark trait. So you have a situation where it behooves you to have a vaccine holy Digimon on your team to spam light or holy attacks with your vaccine Digimon on these hoes. And it's not like most of the bosses have the character reversal ability to make it so they reverse what they're weak and strong against. And when they do have it, they don't use it to the end of the fucking fight. So you're kind of in a place where it's like you're incentivized to do one of 2 things. You either run vaccine types and push face, right? You just spam that shit, or you run data type, you run character reversal on them or the enemy or an item that automatically reverses their stuff at the start of battle, but that wastes a slot, so let's not even get into that. But basically, if you're running the data type, you have to use a whole fucking turn or a whole item slot to make them strong against virus types. The fuck? And then virus types, there's not many data enemies out there, especially bosses. So virus types don't get a chance to be super effective against diddly shit. So yeah, it's just like straight up, like vaccine is the best type in the game. Full fucking stop. Best attribute. And that's because of what you're usually going up against. So cool. Neat. Really don't love that. Which for me, it made doing team builds kind of annoying because I was like, why try out these Digimon when they're all data attribute? What's the point, you know? And I think my end team looked something like 2 vaccine, a unknown, I believe, 2 virus, and a data. Like that was my final team. And unknowns aren't part of that pie. They have their own list of whatevers. Something nice that they did right, I kind of hinted at this before, but the buff debuff system this game had in place is extraordinary. Extraordinary. You don't need to just spam your best attacks that match the type ups you need in this game. Okay, you can actually strategically use buffs and debuffs and ailments to your advantage, and they fucking matter and they fucking work. In previous games, in like Cyber Sleuth, your shit didn't work against bosses most of the time. If you tried to debuff them or you tried to like poison them or something, it was either just like completely protected or just missed every fucking time, guaranteed. But in this game, that doesn't happen nearly as much. There's some bosses that'll have like specific immunities, but it's not across the board. There's other stuff that'll still work on them, which is so cool because that wasn't a thing before. That being said, though, if you do give them a debuff, debuffs usually have like a turn limit, like 2-3 turns, right? The problem with that, though, is that bosses act so frequently that a lot of the times they'll burn through their turn limit before you can do anything meaningful with that, right? So for example, if you apply a spirit bind on them, which lowers their spirit, which is their magical defense, you could put it on them, but by the time it's your turn again, you might get 1 hit on them before it goes away, because every time they act, it counts as a turn for that. So that was kind of shitty. Also, the amount of bosses that have like double or triple turn actions with no indicator it's gonna fucking happen is terrible. So in Digimon, they have something called double action and triple action. It's a skill. And you'll see the profile little icons on the right hand side. You'll see their turn is coming up. You're like, okay, they're gonna act and then I could heal after that or whatever. But then their turn comes up and they're like, yo, triple action. And then they're so fast they just get to act like fucking 12 more times, right? And that feels bad because you can't really plan around that. You don't know that it's coming. So you just have to assume it's going to fucking happen every time, which is so stupid because then you can play overly safe and then you miss a DPS window or whatever. And if you didn't stagger them when there was a stagger bar, it leads to you getting absolutely shitted on for no reason. So that's kind of annoying. I would rather that they get rid of the double and triple action except for like super unique bosses and then balance their game around that, right? They don't need double or triple actions if they can actually fucking do something on their turns more than just one-shot you or not one-shot you, right? So I think that would have been cool. I think the most interesting bosses I had to like overcome weren't even ones that were doing tee-hee funny big number one-shot moves. I think it was the ones that were like, by the way, you're dotted. If you're dotted, you can only use basic attacks, right? You can't use any of your skills or anything. By the way, you got this, or by the way, I can no longer take damage from physical attacks or something. So there was some times where they really had that and they were like fucking on top of it, and there was others where I was like, all right, cool. I see. But yeah, basically every single boss was for the most part, had something I liked about it. At the end, though, the 7 Great Demon Lord fights were kind of boring. Other than the fact that they summoned ads, I think they were just kind of like things getting serious, you know? Oh, I completely forgot to mention. It's right in my notes too, because I took little notes. I'm like, hey, don't forget about this. The speed up function in battle is insane. What a good decision. actually fucking big brain as fuck. We all love JRPGs, right? We love smashing the X button and hitting our attacks, but sometimes a motherfucker gotta go fast after playing 70 hours a game and seeing the same animation for the 9,343rd time. It just gets to be a little much. This game lets you do a one time speed, 2 times speed, 3 times speed, and then is it 5 from there? I think it's is it 4 or 5? I think it's straight to 5. I don't even fucking remember. But if you go to 3 times speed, you still get to see your full animation, but just faster. But if you go to 5 times speed, it goes even faster, and then it cuts out big animations of like signature attacks and stuff. So the attack hit and the damage just happens, which is so fucking cool. I wish that was just like an industry standard across the board. There is some JRPGs that offer speed up functions, but not to the flexibility and user friendly levels that this game has. Super, super cool. Wish that was just how things were done across the board, because good lord. I mentioned it before too, but the bosses have like a stagger system. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but basically they'll wind up to do a big attack. You have a bar. If you can attack their weak point that pops up and figure out what it's weak to and bust through that bar in time, you'll stagger them and they won't do the big attack. It's a cool system. It's appreciated. There's really not much to talk about there though. So overall, very happy with the combat. Enough so that, like I said, in the future, I'm going to do challenge runs. However, that brings me to progressions and systems. And holy fuck, I cannot tell when I am in an appropriate level or power level in general in this game. It is fucking like being able to tell when I am correctly power scaled is miserable. And I will absolutely be going to make docs or look at docs that go through every single fucking boss that shows their level, that shows their stats, and etc. So I can put them in a doc and I can look at it and go, okay, I cannot level past this. Because I swear there was a few times that I was probably a level 2, 3 too high, maybe, I don't know, or maybe my stats were just too high. I couldn't fucking tell you, because I was melting some of these hoes. There was one boss I didn't even get to see an ally's attack animation. There was supposed to be 2. I only got to see 1 because I killed them so fast. We skipped entire stagger cycles because I killed some bosses so fast. And there's a lot of bosses at least, so like that's nice. But definitely worth keeping in mind. And then in the beginning of the game, there was 2 bosses. There was a Raremon and a Parrotmon. I was vastly underleveled for, had no fucking idea. I was like, damn, I can't do anything. Yeah, no fucking shit, because you're not at the right level. So, and that's not just an issue here as far as like trying to find the perfect balance for leveling. That's definitely something that JRPGs have an issue with in general. I feel like if you don't kind of have a system in place to let players know, hey, you're roughly the right level for these mobs, so they know that when they go to the boss, they'll be at roughly the right level, right? Like I think Metaphor had that where it was like you got white enemies, blue enemies, red enemies or some shit. Or yellow enemies, I think it was white, yellow, red. I don't remember. But basically having some kind of indicator to let you know that, hey, Tamer, you're doing all right would be nice. Before going to a boss, because I don't want to bring in a super over leveled team and I don't want to bring in a super under leveled team. I want to actually play the game and I want the AI to play the game as well. But that's just the Digimon side of things. The other thing that was kind of big on the Digimon side was your Digivolution. One big part of Digimon is digivolving your Digimon and seeing what you can turn into. There's a bunch of stages. You got in training, which is the youngest. Then you got rookie, then you got champion, ultimate, mega, and then your ultras, right? Not every Digimon can go into an ultra, or at least kinda. They can go a different direction and hit ultra probably, but that's the general idea. And I'll say this, digivolving feels good. I think a lot of it's sensical. There was a point in the game where I was like, okay, we're stuck on ultimate too long. Maybe it would be nice to see megas. And by the time I got the megas, the game was pretty much actually over. Like literally, it was like, I got megas. I was like, yeah, we got megas. And then 2 streams later, it was over. I was like, what the fuck? That was quick. I thought I had a lot further to go because ultimates took so long. I was like, oh, we got all this stuff to do. There'll probably be a few more major bosses. And I was wrong. I was straight up wrong. So that was a bit of a letdown. So as far as that goes, it's definitely like beginning of the game, progression feels relatively good, and then by the end you're like, damn, might be dog. I will say this, being able to go horizontal with your Digivolution line, and what I mean by horizontal is you can start with like a Gabumon and you can end up with a completely different rookie after digivolving up and de-digivolving down, and an entirely different Digivolution tree. I know people enjoy it. I know they think it's really cool. I personally have my gripes with it. I prefer you having a set rookie and then only being able to kind of stay within the confines of that tree. But again, I know people like it. I know people enjoy it. I know in my challenge runs in the future, I'm going to have some kind of Digivolution locked rule. I haven't figured that out yet, where it's like, hey, once you go this way, this is kind of where you have to stay, whether it's in this exact line or just in this, you know, rookie up or whatever it is. Because I feel like sometimes it just kind of takes some of the want to try other Digimon out of the game. You're like, well, I already invested all this into this Digimon. There's no point in trying anything else, right? Because a lot of your stats in your Digimon, you get more of them as you use them and as they level up and digivolve and de-digivolve, and you use them on the Digifarm, which is a whole nother mechanic that the only thing I'm going to say about the Digifarm is that you use it to train your Digimon and feed them for like bond points and other things, but you cannot view your Digivolution screen from there. And the only reason that matters is because when you're going into the Digifarm, a lot of the time you're going in there to train your Digimon on various equipment, like to train their stats, a specific stat. So if you need like HP and wisdom or spirit at a certain level for your Digimon to digivolve, you're going to bring them usually to the Digifarm, you're going to train them, and then you'll digivolve them back in the overworld afterwards. But it's like, let me view my stats so I'm not forgetting and then having to go back and forth over and over and over again through menus. Weird, like this game has so many quality of life features that feel so good, and that's been a standout for so many people. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You've probably heard that one already. We're just gonna move on. I will say that the agent skill tree, because you have your actual tamer, has its own skill tree that you get skill points for as you complete not just MSQ but also side quests. That was fucking cool. There was 4 different personality traits or crests you could level, plus your own agent skills that would like let you act and do things during battle. So if you wanted to do like a big AoE attack, you could do that. If you wanted to heal and cleanse your team, you could do that. If you wanted to buff them, you could do that, but you had to pick one at a time. So it depends on what your team needed or where you were in the game. And I thought that was a really nice inclusion. But what was really fucking cool about it is if, let's say, like me, I chose the wisdom tree, if all of your Digimon fit under the wisdom personality, they get buffs. So you get to buff their all of their stats multiple times. You get to make it so they're easier to digivolve if they have that personality trait. Like the requirements will go down. Depending on their trait, you can get more money or crit easy or combo easier. Like there's a bunch of different things you can do strictly off of building out your tree. And I think it's important to like build out one tree, focus on that shit, because that'll be a huge difference maker in your Digimon stats as you go through the game. You could definitely tell when a Digimon doesn't have the personality type that you leveled into, because you'd be like, I don't understand. They're the same level, similarly equipped, and same like, you know, stage level. And here we are. This is a huge gap. What the fuck? And then you'd be like, oh, okay, it's because they're not wisdom like me. That'll do it. So I think that was really cool. I'm glad that they did that. It is not hard to change your Digimon's personality. You can either talk to them in the overworld and kind of guide them towards where you want to go, or the gym equipment also at the Digifarm I was talking about. The various equipment there will allow you to change their personalities quickly. So it's not a big deal. Very, very, very easy. That's kind of it. Yeah, I basically, the last thing I have is like, the conversion system is familiar and works well for the franchise and game. And a note, yeah, there's a conversion system. So when you see Digimon, it'll be like, oh, you've seen this Digimon? Cool. Here's 10% to the conversion rate. And then once you hit 100, you can convert into actual Digimon. And then if you get to 200%, you convert them and then they're stronger for it. They have higher HP. Some Digimon will give you 5%. Some will give you 20. It just depends on the rarity and the strength, right? It feels good. It just works for Digimon. It works well. That's how you quote unquote capture Digimon or recruit them, however you want to look at it. I will say the new system that was included, the Digiload system, is something I barely ever fucking touched. I think I touched it during the tutorial and then I might have used it one time after that. I don't even know. But basically you can take Digimon that you've converted and feed them into other Digimon you already have to like grind XP and get various like buffs out of it. good for cleaning out unused Digimon and like quick grinding and whatnot, but I barely touched it. I'm sure when I go to do my Mega Plus playthrough, which is the hardest difficulty, I will in fact use that. But as of right now, I don't fucking care. Like, I don't. You get so strong as it is. I have no incentive to use that at all. That's kind of it on the progression front. I mean, there's not really too much to talk about there. As far as the world and exploration goes, though, I do have a bit to talk about. I personally think the world felt alive pretty much at every stage. There's a mix between like overworld NPCs and overworld Digimon that just gives it life, you know? And I know that for a lot of JRPGs, that's kind of the standard, right? Like you can see your enemies in the overworld now, and there's NPCs and stuff moving around. But you gotta remember, this is a Digimon game that Bandai finally put money into. We're not used to this shit, okay? But it's here now. And it's not just like boring either. They're actually actively doing stuff in the overworld. Like there's a fucking Digimon called Woodmon. It looks like a fucking busted up tree, right? And rather than just having the Woodmon walking around in the Gear Forest, there's a bunch of trees that look like Woodmon, and then Woodmon just standing still. So if you're not looking at your mini map or scanning, you don't know which one's the Woodmon and which one's the fucking tree. So you could be actively using your overworld Digi attack by slamming on the button, which has one of your Digimon attack overworld interactables or Digimon or whatever. And if you hit a Digimon with it, you get a preemptive strike. But sometimes you'll just hit one of the random trees, and then a Woodmon will come out the woodworks and try to, you know, put a splinter in your ass. And you're like, damn, my bad, dog. But it was cool. There's stuff like that was genuinely cool and well thought out. It wasn't super frequent, but when it happened, it was super appreciated and it felt nice. And the maps were beautiful. It turns out if you have a variety of biomes, right, with different looking things going on and a bunch of detail, it could do wonders for your immersion and also helping reduce the player fatigue. Because, like I said, there were some parts that were an absolute slog, but at least they were fucking pretty to look at, okay? There was even a level that was basically just a prison or a dungeon, and even that shit was pretty to look at. So I'll give them props there. It's just, it looks pretty, and for the most part, it was nice to, like, travel and interact with. I will say this, though. Something I liked about the game is that it felt very reminiscent of more guided older JRPGs where it was like, okay, this is the map, and it's basically, I don't want to call it like a train or something. It was like a hallway. It was basically just like a regular maze, but on a map, except maybe less dead ends, right? And you pretty much were always like, damn, this is the way the game wants me to go. This is the way where there's probably treasure type beat. And when there was puzzles, it was nice, but you didn't really have to do as much pointless exploring in terms of open free roam areas would be. I would say this, though, if they took the design philosophy of something like Monster Hunter World or Wilds, or even Dragon Quest Inquisition with like micro worlds, like micro hub open world type beat, where it's not this over massive sprawling map and they made it like contained areas, I think that would be cool. I don't think that most people are going to really I don't know. I don't think most people are really going to care too much as far as like the way the story's executed with the way the maps are done. But I do think that they could have used some extra areas is kind of what I'm getting at. The maps probably could have used some extra areas when you revisited them in the future. There you go. Because the backtracking could be cumbersome at times, but you do have a lot of fast travel. It just requires you to go through multiple loading screens to do so. There was only really two maps I was kind of like, man, fuck this place. And it wasn't because of the detail or the graphics, but it was just because the way they wanted you to move around. Gear Forest wanted you to basically use a Digimon called Palmon and grab onto it, and it would use its little vines to grab onto a tree and bring you to the next like platform. And you had to do a lot of back and forth on those, so it was just like extra monotonous crap here and there. And then I already mentioned Plutomon's castle with the teleporting around. Those two were definitely like, when I think back to the game and I'm like, I don't want to play this section again, I don't want to play either of those. And Gear Forest was like, that was a fucking section. That was one of the more lengthy ones. So definitely something to consider when I go to do future playthroughs. I already talked about doing extra areas. Unironically, I would have liked more dungeon-like puzzles rather than, hey, agent, run from A to B and do it again. But I think that's because I'm a sicko. And when I talk about the place that was essentially a dungeon, which was a prison, they had like baby's first puzzle, kind of. Sort of like you would hit a thing on the ceiling and it would change the wall layout and you had to figure that out and like hit another one type thing. It wasn't much, but it was better. It was much better than what we had been doing so far and gave some variance. I think Digimon could definitely benefit from having some puzzles introduced. Other than that, I mean, as far as like unique systems in the overworld goes, or in the map design, there wasn't really much else. I will say this, the world map and like stage design we've gotten in this game is probably the best in the Digimon game yet, like objectively. However, my personal bias and preference kind of says like DW3, Digimon World 3 has the best. There is something so aesthetically pleasing about the design philosophy behind the stages in that game and the way that they did things that I think trumps all else. And I don't know if we'll ever get anything truly like that again. There was a little bit of that in some side quests and other games, but nothing quite to the same extent. But yeah, no, Digimon Story Time Stranger is a pretty game. The maps are pretty. And enough of it was unique to kind of prevent some of that map fatigue that you would have gotten from previous Digimon games, where you're basically looking at blue the entire fucking game. Before I move on to music and sound design, I want to talk really quick about the side modes, because there wasn't many. There was an arena mode that was like a short-lived distraction where you basically do challenge battles against silly theme teams. That was cute. It's not something I'd want to spend a bunch of time on. And there's more that are added later. I just haven't done those extras yet because, again, was trying to get through the story. There's something called outer dungeons, which are little red rifts that appear across the worlds that you go to. And they have various challenges to do in them, like defeat this wave of Digimon and use your Digi attack to do like a tower defense type beat as they come in. And there's like races that were really, really poor. Also, thank you for the raid. I appreciate you for being here. We're just reviewing Digimon real quick. But I digress. There was the races. There's a few other things, but I don't like the outer dungeons didn't really add anything. And I don't think they did enough to really break up the flow of the game like Bandai probably wanted them to. I don't really have gripes with the other two. They are what they are. They're there. They're nice to interact with if you do. Otherwise, whatever. However, as somebody who's huge into TCGs, it is a slap in the face to call the trading card minigame a trading card game. What the fuck, dude? I'm going to go on a full rant. My notes tell me, as a Digimon TCG, Digimon World 3 TCG, and general TCG enjoyer, the TCG minigame was a fucking mistake. Full stop. I'm not even going to explain myself. Fuck you, previous Lucky. I'm explaining myself. This shit was so ass, okay? So when you start, you have like this deck. In quotes, I'm saying deck very loosely. You need to understand when I'm using these TCG terms, I am saying them in the most loose manner possible, okay? You start with a deck. Every time you take part in one of these trading card games, you draw 5 cards. You draw 5 cards, and then you get level 3s, level 4s, level 5s, level 6s, and I think there's level 7s and then level 2s, right? That's it. Yeah, there's level 7s. That's it. Or no. There's level 1s too. My bad. There's level 1s too. How could I forget? And it has the attributes, right? It has your vaccine virus data, and it keeps the triangle. So if you have a level 3 down and your opponent has a level 3 down, and you're running a vaccine and they're running a virus, in theory, you should win. Or let me rephrase this. You have a higher chance of winning that engagement. So you place the cards down. It has the little VPET faces. They do their little fireball attacks at each other. And whichever one reaches the enemy first wins. So if your fireball hits them, you win. Cool, good in practice. And then the higher level you are and the better attribute you have, the higher chance you have of winning against your opponent. Unfortunately, it doesn't always fucking work like that. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. It's strictly RNG. There is no skill involved. There's no thought involved. It's let me slam these fucking cards down and just hope I hit the MFer, which is so fucked. And it's like, oh yeah, it's a trading card game. But here's the fucked up part. You cannot choose your deck. You cannot choose what cards you want to put in your deck to draw the 5 from that you're going to use. You can't fucking do that. That doesn't exist. It just pulls from your collection. Well, how do you get more cards in your collection? You can either beat the opponent, you could beat Digimon in the overworld, usually bosses, you could buy them from a shop, or when you win, if you win a certain amount of times, you could take 1 card from your opponent, 2 cards from your opponent, or 3 cards from your opponent. It doesn't just have to be your opponent though, because sometimes on the final stages, you can have certain cards left in your hand, 2 cards, that'll basically do like a fucking fusion dance and drop another card for you to use, and then once you've finished the match, you can take that card if you want to as well, if you didn't get it yet. It sounds cool, but there's nothing fucking cool about it at all. All the systems in place are hocus pocus bullshit. None of it matters at all. Actually, it doesn't fucking matter. Don't let it haunt you. Don't let it give you nightmares like it did to me. Ignore the entire thing. Don't even interact with it, actually. Just let it go. There is no TCG in Digimon Story Time Stranger. This entire bit was a lie. It doesn't exist. You know what does exist, though, is the music and sound design. And I'll say this much. The music is fine. It's fine. It's fine. For whatever reason, the music in this game, for me, ping-ponged between serviceable and it's just kind of there to annoying. And then there was the occasional song where I was like, this shit slaps, bruh. But I can't see myself doing what I've done with other games, going to listen to lo-fi renditions often, or even just listening to the actual song or putting the songs in my videos, unless I just get bored of the ones I've been using. I don't care. I can't be asked to care. A lot of the songs were kind of ass. It was kind of so meh to the point where I actively considered multiple times during my playthrough turning the music off entirely and just playing my own shit, doing my own thing, you know, Spotify or whatever. But I didn't, because I wanted to maintain it for my first run for the VODs and all that. So, you know, maybe in the future when I do my challenge runs. In a very stark contrast, the voice acting, which is, I've been waiting essentially this entire time to talk about the voice acting, I shit you not, was fucking phenomenal. The English dub killed it. These motherfuckers had bills to pay. They had an absolute showing from everybody who was delivering their lines. From Agiomon, who was Killua in Hunter x Hunter's dub, to Inori, to fucking the operator talking to you on the phone, to doctors, like every single character, human or Digimon alike, bangers, banger performances across the board. Not a single L was to be had anywhere. I didn't see a single L. There was not a weak performance. I was like, damn, this shit's kind of ass. And it was so good, so prevalent across the board. Even when your Digimon are yelling their signature attacks at the top of their lungs, you're like, yeah, this shit slaps. Felt really, really nice. Which is why it's so frustrating to say it was super jarring when we'd go from a scene where they'd be yapping to just randomly having no voice acting for like 3 to 12 lines for no fucking reason. And then it would just pick up with the voice lines again, or the conversation would be over. Why? Why? Pick one. Like, obviously pick the voice acting, but why? What was the point? You put all this work into voice acting this section, and then we have some more conversation, and then you do 3 more lines of voice acting. It makes no fucking sense. It was like jarring. And I think there's definitely been games that have done that before, but like the voice acting was so good. Like, you don't understand. It was fucking amazing. Amazing. I think this issue was more noticeable in the last third of the game than really anywhere else. And this kind of feeds into my feeling that maybe some stuff was happening towards the end of the game's development life cycle where they weren't able to do quite as much as they originally planned on doing. They're able to nail most of it, but there were some things that slipped between the cracks, and this might have been one of them. Overall, though, the VA work was great, and then the battle and overworld sound effects all felt like they belonged. So either kept me completely immersed or made me go, damn, that's so sick, dude, and then move on, right? Good stuff, good stuff. We already talked a bit about just like the visuals, mostly on the stage side. But as far as like characters for the humans go, their character designs were kind of lackluster. Drip was entirely whack. We kind of touched on that. There was like 2 characters I was like, you kind of look sick, and that was Dr. Simmons and Asuna, which is probably why they stand out to me. And the whole thing's so weird because the previous 2 games, Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory, and Cyber Sleuth, both had banger human character designs, even though a lot of the times people would be like, oh, they have pretty basic designs. But the thing is, they were still really sick. They were executed really, really well. And I just don't think they really hit that same stride here with the characters. But I will say the game's gorgeous, not just even as a fucking Bandai game. Don't get it twisted. As a game in general, it's nice to look at. No matter where I looked, it was always like buttery smooth frame rate. There were Digimon flying around that had the best models I've ever seen for a Digimon, and even for JRPG games in general, they just look so fucking good. Like, honestly, I'm gonna put some pictures up on screen for the video, but these motherfuckers look sick. Okay. Super well detailed, super pretty. All the cutscenes were an absolute just blast to look at. It was like eye candy pretty much the whole time. There were some where I was like, whoa. And then there was like these little theater, in between theater cutscenes that had a special aesthetic that I always looked forward to seeing, because they were just, it was so cool the way they did it. It was like a very, silhouette styled characters, and it was cool. It was cool. It goes without saying that the special attacks in battle were always well done. There was actually some attacks that weren't even special attacks. They were just like the little equipment attacks I was telling you about, where I was like, I love using this one because it looks so sick. Fucking, what's it called? Magma Fall was one of my favorites. There were so many cool ones. So many cool ones. Before I wrap this up, though, I just want to give a few extra thoughts that don't really fit into the category super well. I think if we're going to continue to not give MC-chan or Kun VA work, and we're going to continue to give them generic-ish responses like we did in Cyber Sleuth, that don't necessarily add much in terms of a response to the story, where like characters can just kind of say whatever back to us, at least let me either customize my character like from the start of the game, or if you're not going to let me customize my character, let the extra outfits you give us be more swappable. Hold on. Like either let us swap out parts or do more with it, because man, if I'm going to be looking at a fucking cardboard fucking character the whole game and I really don't like their design and I don't like necessarily the way they respond to things, let me like the way they look, please. Like, it's just absolutely unacceptable that every time I bought an outfit, I have the same fucking pants and feet shit on, the shoes on. It makes no sense. There was like a handful of outfits that are full costume changes that would give you completely different everything. But by and large, it'd be like, LOL, here's a shirt, but your pants stay the same. And then they don't even fucking match. You know what I mean? Shit was ass. What wasn't ass, though, is that we can skip cutscenes. And we do have the text log that tells us what was there. That's pretty normal now in the industry, I feel like. So if you miss something, you can check the log, which is nice because I miss stuff because I'm talking with chat during the whole fucking thing because I never shut up because I'm a streamer. But at least I can go back and read it real quick if I missed it. But again, I'm going to be playing this in the future. I keep saying this for a reason because I feel like I've said a lot of things that could be taken as a negative, but I am going to be playing this again. I'm going to be doing more playthroughs, both on stream and off stream. I loved this video game. So having the skippable cutscenes for when I'm like, bro, let's get, let's do the challenge. So nice. Thank you for including that. That was not there in Cyber Sleuth. Kind of unrelated, the prelude animation for the game is peak. People should absolutely fucking watch it. It was super cool. It definitely adds a layer of enjoyment and appreciation to the game. It's not required, but damn, does it feel good. And I do like how the in-between, which is like the theater is your like hub. I like how that was woven into the story and felt like it belonged as like your semi-hub world. there's a lot of games that'll give us a hub world where like all of our stuff is just kind of in, and I feel like they're just shoehorned in, you know the ones, you know the type. But this one, it just made sense. It had a recognizable character that we've used for like a hub world in the past kind of before, except this one made a lot more sense. Had a great aesthetic to it, had other like it just had good things going on. There's actually a character that you could talk to in a side quest that shows up in there as well, which is so fucking cool. So it's just all appreciated. I'm really, really glad that they did what they did there. Big fan of all that. I could bring up the Digimon TCG, but I had a point there. We'll skip that. It's not related to this game. Overall, I think the game has strengths and weaknesses that some people will maybe agree on and disagree on. But for strengths, it's a wild and fun Digimon story and a good JRPG story. The character interactions and motivations, by and large, are believable and make sense based on what's happening. Its visual presentation is phenomenal. Even the menus and like the battle UI is gorgeous. It looks good. There's some menu stuff that's like, okay, it's kind of fucking annoying, but by and large, let's ignore that. It's very pretty. It looks good. It's not annoying. The VA work is incredible. And I would say most boss battles were truly, truly lovely. Weaknesses, though, I mean, the biggest ones are going to be like the mini games and side stuff to do, the constant padding, your Digimon weaknesses and resistances, the Digifarm lacking a Digivolution screen, and then being unable to tell if your team's too powerful or too weak at any given point until you fight a boss. That's really, and some people won't even care about that one. That's really my biggest things. It's probably going to be the only time I'm ever going to do this, but I've calculated 4 different scores. I've calculated 4 different scores for this game on how I feel. And some of you may know I score things differently than most people because I believe if you're doing something out of 10, if you give it a 10, that means it's perfect. If you give it a 1, that means it's absolutely fucking trash, right? That means it's dog shit. It's not even it's perfect if it's a 10. It's a fundamentally changed my life and I'll love it forever type beat. But when I say 5, that means it's an average experience. Not that it's bad, it's average, right? 4 would be meh. 3 would be bad, that type of thing. So if I said 6, that would mean it's good. So I rate my shit differently. So just keep that in mind when we go through the rating. So if you're a hardcore Digimon fan, this game is a 9 out of 10, which to me means it's phenomenal and it's an experience that you have to experience. You have to. It's so good. If you're a JRPG fan, it's an 8 out of 10. So it's amazing. They're really, really fucking cooked. If you're a general gamer that you just kind of play video games and you do whatever, it's a 6.5. It's between good and very good. You will probably have something in there that you'll like, but some of the stuff may fall flat for you and it might make you drop it. And then I have my completely biased score of a 9.5. It is so close to being the perfect Digimon game for me. And it just needs a few changes to really hit that. And unfortunately, it fell short. And I don't think any of the changes I need will ever come to fruition. And I don't even mean that in like a future patch sense. I mean in future games. So, but yeah, it's a 9.5 out of 10. It's so close to being a peak game for me as far as like best of all time. But as of right now, it is the best Digimon game of all time. And it is probably like top 2, top 3 RPGs and even JRPG RPGs for me of all time. And I know a large part of that is because it's a Digimon game. But I think even if it wasn't, I think it would make me a hardcore Digimon fan in a heartbeat. Just knowing how I am and how the game did a lot of the things, it's special. It truly, truly is. And I've been thinking about it a lot. There's not many games that I'll finish and be like, all right, let's have another go as soon as I'm done. And I had that feeling with this game. That is super rare. That is super, super rare. That is not common. And I think that speaks to volumes, especially if the game took me 50 plus hours to complete. I talk about this on stream all the time. Give me a game at 30 hours or less and I'm happy. That's my take. I don't want to spend all my life in a fucking video game. I have other stuff I want to play on stream and play with people. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, for those of you that came out for the review, I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. For those of you on the YouTube video, how did you play it yet? Are you enjoying it? You know, what was your favorite part? My favorite part had to be Dr. Simmons telling us that we're not adopted after being told we're adopted all game, and then saying, hey, by the way, your dad doesn't exist. Get fucked, idiot. That shit was tight. Also, seeing Kyoko was tight. Also, also the song at the end was tight in the credits. Aegiomon being an absolute baller, you know, in redacted ways after the credits played. There was moments, you know, a lot of good stuff there. But yeah, hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye bye.